Hi, my name is Ashley Bentley, and for my presentation, I chose to discuss the Enabling Others to Act section of the Leadership Challenge. The reason that I chose this was simply because it focused on building relationships and really paying it forward. According to the authors, the fundamental purpose of the Leadership Challenge is to assist people, managers and individuals alike, in furthering their abilities to lead others to get extraordinary things done, and to guide them to places they've never been before. And what I found interesting about this quote from the book was that we often think of leadership as someone who's in control, who's in power and telling others what to do. But the word guide really jumped out at me. A guide is someone who is going to walk beside you, who's going to give you direction and keep you on the right path. And that's very different than someone yelling from a tower and giving you direction that way. And so I think as we read through this book and understood what it was to enable others, it really focuses on communication and building relationships with your team. Leadership is not a solo act. It's a team effort. And some of the most successful leaders have been those that have surrounded themselves with positive people and realized that they can't do it alone, that it truly is a team success. According to our authors, the two main aspects of enabling others to act is to strengthen others and foster collaboration. In order to foster collaboration, the first thing you must do is create a climate of trust. And this begins by the leader taking the initiative. The leader's got to be able to trust the group members have to be able to trust the leader, and the members have to be able to trust one another. And so someone has to take the first step, and that needs to be the leader. They're the ones who's going to have to be able to take a risk, let go of control, and depend on their team. As we've all probably seen, trust can become contagious. Once one person starts to trust, then others will reciprocate that. So one way that I have found to help someone trust you is simply by opening up about yourself. That can be just telling them a little bit about your family, about your background, your hobbies, just letting them know that you're a real person. So even though you may be their leader and you may be guiding them to reach an end result, you're still a person. And as you open up, they will open up, and you'll be able to get to know them individually. And as you do this, you'll become aware of what their needs and interests are. And as a leader, we need to be sensitive to those. We need to, listen to them, try to understand their perspective. And this is going to allow us to formulate our leadership style based on what some of their needs are. One of the other things that is important with enabling others to act is sharing information with your team. And, personally, I've worked for someone who did not do this. In fact, they used this as a controlling mechanism. They wanted to hold on to their power, and they found that they could do this through not sharing information, through withholding information from the team. And what this did was it actually had the opposite effect, and it created a sense of distrust. We felt like they didn't trust us, so we didn't trust that person. And so it's important that, although there is information that's obviously confidential that leaders are given, if there's information that they can share that has an impact on their constituents, they need to go ahead and disclose that. Another aspect is of enabling others is to foster collaboration. And this can start with facilitating relationships. As the quote says, to get things done, people have to rely on each other. And, this is going to start with us as a leader creating a culture of mutual dependency. We want everyone on the team to be successful. And in order to be successful, I need my team to realize that they're dependent on one another. And the way I look at it is a big jigsaw puzzle. If I lay down all of my pieces exactly the way they're supposed to be, where they're supposed to be, I'm still not successful until everyone else has also put their pieces in place and they interlocked. At that point, we would see the big picture and we have reached our goal. And if you want to have a strong team and you want members to work well together, you have to allow opportunities for them to get to know each other, spend time together. And a good leader will provide these opportunities for mingling and building relationships. And one simple way to do that is just to create a common area, somewhere where for 15 minutes a day your employees talk and maybe have a coffee break. On my previous job as a manager, I put into place what we called tea time. One of our employees was from Britain, and so they often refer to coffee breaks as tea time. So what we did was each day we all met at the coffee area at some midpoint in the afternoon, and for 15 minutes we just kind of discussed life, what was going on, upcoming vacations. At Christmas time we were discussing what everyone was getting, our significant others, things like that. And what that did, it just really built up a sense of team. And I found that one of the most important parts of that whole environment was that I was there as the leader. Oftentimes leaders want their team to build the relationships, but then they forget that they need to be present too. So, and opening up and sharing. So that's really another important part of that. Finally, we also need to, as part of enabling others, we need to strengthen them. And this starts with enhancing their self-determination. One of the primary things a leader can do is to build trust and create a successful team by empowering their members. When you empower others, they respect you even more. So often, leaders are afraid to give up their power or their control for the fear that people won't see them as the leader. They won't respect them. But it's actually the opposite. As you empower people, they become like feel like they have a control, and they're more driven, they're more dedicated. And another way to empower them is also just to build them up through, seeking out ways to put them in the spotlight, whether that be allowing them to speak in meetings or do a presentation or just simply bragging on them. I had a former employer did a great job of that. He would point out some of my strengths during meetings in front of our clients. And what he was doing was he was giving me self-confidence. He was building me up, but he was also building up my credibility to our clients. And, that's such a great gift that a leader can give their followers. Another thing is to provide choices. None of us like to be told what to do. And so just by giving someone a couple choices, that just really gives them a sense of control and empowers them. And it can be something as simple as, a range of when people should report to work. Some people are early birds, some people aren't. So give them an hour and a half range. Be here between 7:30 and 9. And then if you're someone who likes to get here early, you get to leave earlier in the day. And if you like to get here a little bit later, then you leave later in the evening. And that just feels like they're not so boxed in. It gives them some flexibility to make choices. Lastly, you want to foster accountability. Accountability really leads to members of the group owning their aspect or their task of the project. And, as crazy as it sounds, accountability and working together collaboratively actually increases an individual productivity. When people feel like they are part of a team and that others are relying on them, many times they will make sure that they are doing a better job and will make sure that they complete their task on time with the idea that they don't want to let someone else down. Finally, a successful leader is someone who emphasizes the development of competencies and confidence of their team members. Self-confidence is a key ingredient of high performance. The more equipped and knowledgeable a person is, the more confident they are. And in turn, self-confidence will allow them to navigate uncertain situations better. So often, companies want to cut costs through education and training. This is many times the first place that they go. But by doing this, you're decreasing your capabilities of your employees. And that is not something that a good leader will do, right? We've all been in a situation where we've been asked to do something that we don't feel like we are either trained or equipped to do. And there's nothing that can make you more nervous than being asked to do something in that situation. So a successful leader is someone who makes this a priority. They are going to be there, as the quote says, taking a personal hands-on approach to training up their employees. Next, they should also make sure that tasks are designed to increase the competencies of the constituents. And this can start with something as simple as making the expectations very clear. We want to set our followers up for success. And if they don't understand what the expectations are, then they're never going to be able to meet them. So setting clear expectations, being involved in the process, but allowing them to also make decisions and discuss, their ideas, give us input, give us feedback on how we're doing, and also just kind of giving them a variety of assignments. Don't ask someone to do the same thing over and over again, and giving them some choices in what they do. I've never felt more empowered than when someone allows me to decide what aspect of a project I get to work on. Because then, as the book talks about, lining up the goals of the team with the individual goals. Whenever you allow a team member to say, well, I really enjoy, in my case, I really enjoyed recruiting and developing our staff members. So I often ask to work on that aspect of projects. And because of that, I enjoyed it. And because I was passionate about it, I did a better job. I was also built up. My confidence was built up by those I worked for. And that is a key ingredient as well. When people, lack self-confidence, they feel powerless, they feel unmotivated. So leaders, need to recognize when people are feeling this way and take action. You need to find ways to build up their confidence, encourage them, and that will increase their performance as well. And lastly, one of the things I think is most important is the aspect of coaching your team. Again, it kind of goes back to that very first quote on the first slide is, that we're in this as a guide. A leader is a guide. And, same thing here. We're a coach. We're a mentor. So we're not just going to talk to them. We're going to listen as well. We just want to create a culture of mutual respect and help guide them in the right direction, but don't necessarily tell them what to do. Give them some choices and really focus on being supportive, not just directive, and which will set the overall tone of being open, collaborative, and trustworthy, which is what you want everyone to feel, not only towards you, but towards each other as well. And so I think the key with this is just, working on those relationships and fostering them to create that collaboration and empowering your group to be able to eventually be the leaders themselves one day. Thank you for your attention. Have a good day.